There will be moments in your life when everything goes quiet. No advice, no applause, no one telling you what to do next. Just you. And that's when the real fight begins. Not with the world, not with other people, not with circumstances. The real battle has always been you versus you. The version of you that wants comfort versus the version of you that wants growth. The version that looks for excuses versus the version that takes responsibility. The version that quits silently versus the version that stays when it hurts. 2026 will not test your motivation, it will expose your identity.
Because motivation disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. Identity stays. Every single day, you wake up and face the same opponent. It's not external, it's internal. It's the voice that says, do it later. The voice that says, you're tired. The voice that says, you deserve a break. The voice that says, one day won't matter. That voice is familiar. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like you. And that's why it's dangerous. Most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they listen to the wrong version of themselves. The comfortable one, the fearful one, the one that wants safety more than progress. You don't fail overnight. You surrender slowly. One skipped workout, one delayed task, one broken promise to yourself. Repeat it. And eventually, you stop trusting yourself. That's the real damage.
You don't stop believing in success. You stop believing in you. And once that happens, discipline becomes hard, not because the work is difficult, but because your identity is fractured. You say you want change, but you act like someone who expects nothing. That conflict drains you. That's the battle. You versus you. And here's the truth most people avoid. You cannot win this battle by hating yourself. You win it by outgrowing the version that keeps holding you back. This isn't about punishment, it's about standards. Your standards decide your future. Not your goals, not your dreams, not your intentions. Your standards. What do you tolerate from yourself? What excuses do you allow? What behaviors do you keep repeating? Because whatever you tolerate becomes permanent. 2026 will not care about what you said you wanted. It will only respond to what you practiced. You don't become disciplined by watching motivation. You become disciplined by acting disciplined when no one is watching. That's the invisible work. The work done in silence. The work done without praise. The work done without proof that it's paying off.
That's where most people quit, not because it's hard, but because it's quiet. Quiet forces honesty. When no one is watching, there's no performance, no image to protect, no validation to chase, just truth. And truth is uncomfortable. You see clearly how often you avoid effort, how easily you choose comfort, how quickly you justify weakness. Most people don't want that clarity, so they stay busy, they stay distracted, they stay entertained, anything but stillness, because stillness exposes who you really are. But if you can sit in that silence, if you can face yourself without defending your habits, that's when change becomes possible. You don't need to fight harder, you need to fight smarter. Stop fighting external problems and start fighting internal negotiations. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, there's a negotiation happening. Every time you say just this once, you're voting for the weaker version of yourself. And every vote counts. You don't wake up one day disciplined. You wake up one day realizing you've been voting for discipline long enough that it feels natural. That's identity formation.
Identity is not what you say you are, it's what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly avoid effort, you become someone who avoids effort. If you repeatedly show up tired, you become resilient. If you repeatedly keep promises to yourself, you become confident. Confidence isn't loud, it's earned. And earned confidence doesn't need validation. That's why disciplined people move differently. They don't talk much, they don't announce plans, they don't explain themselves. They act. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need approval. 2026 will separate people quietly, not by talent, not by intelligence, but by tolerance for discomfort. Everyone wants the outcome. Very few want the routine. Everyone wants freedom. Very few want the discipline that creates it. Freedom is built on structure, not chaos, and chaos feels easier in the moment. That's why most people stay stuck. They confuse movement with progress. They confuse planning with action. They confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is mechanical. Motivation depends on mood. Discipline depends on rules. Rules don't negotiate. Rules don't care how you feel. That's why rules work. You don't need a dramatic transformation. You need non-negotiables. A wake-up time you respect. A routine you don't argue with. A standard you don't lower. The moment you start negotiating, the weaker version of you wins. And that version is patient. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't force you. It waits. It waits until you're tired, until you're stressed, until you're emotional. Then it offers comfort. And comfort always has a price. The price is progress.
People think the enemy is failure. It's not. Failure teaches. Failure sharpens. Comfort erodes. Comfort slowly convinces you that effort is optional, that discipline is extreme, that consistency can wait, until one day you look back and realize you've been busy for years but built nothing solid. That's regret, and regret is heavier than discipline ever was. You versus you isn't a loud fight, it's a daily decision. Do I do what's easy or what's necessary? Do I protect comfort or build capacity? Do I stay familiar or become capable? Every answer shapes your future.
You don't need to win every day. You need to refuse to quit. Consistency beats intensity. 1 hour every day beats 10 hours once a month. One honest effort daily beats perfect plans that never start. Progress respects patience. 2026 will reward patience. The people who don't rush, the people who don't panic, the people who don't seek shortcuts. Shortcuts rob you of identity. If you skip the work, you skip becoming the person who can handle success. And success without identity collapses. That's why so many people self-sabotage when things start working. They don't trust themselves with progress because they never earned self-respect. Self-respect comes from kept promises, small ones. The alarm you didn't snooze, the workout you didn't skip, the task you finished when it was boring. Those moments don't look impressive, but they change how you see yourself. And how you see yourself determines how far you go. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stop betraying yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop excusing behavior you know is holding you back. Stop defending habits that cost you your future. Honesty is the starting point. Look at your life without defending it, not with shame, with clarity. What patterns keep repeating? What excuses keep showing up? What habits feel harmless but compound negatively? That's where the battle is. And winning doesn't require intensity. It requires consistency. You versus you ends the moment you stop negotiating. When you decide, this is who I am now, and act accordingly. Not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. The hardest days are the most valuable ones. Anyone can show up when they feel good. Very few show up when they feel nothing. That's discipline. And discipline builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds identity. Identity sustains success. That's the chain. Break it anywhere and everything collapses.
2026 doesn't need a new version of you overnight. It needs a committed version of you daily. You don't have to be extreme, you have to be consistent. Extreme fades, consistent compounds. So stop asking, how do I win? Start asking, what does the disciplined version of me do today? Then do that, even if it's small, especially if it's boring. Because boring work done daily creates extraordinary outcomes. You versus you isn't a war you finish, it's a war you manage every day. And the moment you think it's over, you lose. Stay alert, stay honest, stay disciplined. You don't need to beat the world. You need to stop letting the weaker version of you make decisions. That's it. That's the entire game. And now, before this ends, listen carefully. If this message made you uncomfortable, that's good. Comfort doesn't change lives. If this made you reflect, don't let that reflection fade. Go to the comments and write one thing you will stop negotiating with in 2026. Not a goal, a behavior. Share this with someone who's fighting the same internal battle. And subscribe if you're done with hype and ready for discipline. Because the hardest battle isn't coming, it's already here, and it's you versus you.